Okay, so the start to the downswing is definitely the area where most golfers get confused. And what I wanted to do in this video is I wanted to really talk about just some solid checkpoints. One in the backswing position, but also in that key move, which is that transition, which will just make a massive difference so that you know exactly what to work on and practice when you next get the chance. So first of all, there's two common problems with amateur golfers. The most common golfer is the golfer who swings over the top. Okay, this is the person who sort of trail shoulder fires forward. They end up sort of getting the hands come out too far in front of the body, and depends really on how sort of coordinated / experienced that golfer is. Some golfers sort of rescue it by doing something with their arms. Other golfers just sort of continue to throw the club out in front of them and just hit that sort of slice. Now, that golfer might get okay contact on the back of the golf ball, but curvature is obviously a nightmare. Because they sort of move like this, they really struggle with alignment. They really struggle with, obviously, aim. They really struggle with curvature and starting direction on the ball flight. Now, on the flip side, you get the kind of golfer who might be slightly better in regards to things like alignment, and they might be slightly better with not coming over the top. But that's the kind of golfer then who ends up sort of struggling with the contact side of it. So the club comes down too early. They either potentially hit the ball really high, hit the ground, hit it thin, miss hit, etc. So you get two sort of polarized different types of golfers. You get that golfer and you get the other golfer. But obviously both golfers are theoretically need to do the same sort of thing, which is get a blend of good contact, good starting direction, and have a good shape of swing. So the couple of things that we need to do. The first one is in the backswing position. You have to be able to rotate whilst keeping your head still. And that seems like such a simplistic task to suggest, but it's amazing how many golfers often get this wrong. Particularly the kind of golfer who has a tendency to sort of lean back and struggle with the contact. What they'll often do, not really knowing, is the head will sort of have a tendency to move like so, okay? And this would be a tendency for the shoulder turn to be too flat. And this also kind of means that from the sidearm perspective, when we move like this, we tend to lose hip depth. Okay, so this kind of motion here is going to be setting off a golfer who's really going to be struggling with that ball strike. So what you want to do is a couple of things. First of all, you want to just work on, like I say, putting the club across your shoulders and just work on a nice rotation. Okay, keep that trail leg nice and flexed and just concentrate on keeping that head still. Now, the head still is obviously going to be dependent on a bit of mobility around the neck as well. So, as I'm demonstrating here, we don't want the head, unless you have a real limitation, you don't want the head sort of following the body turn. You want your head focusing on staying still as your body rotates. And it's that sort of, if you like, understanding of allowing that to happen, which makes a big difference. Okay, so if you can turn nicely, get a full 90-degree shoulder turn, get at least 50% of your weight in towards that trail heel, and you have that ability to keep your head still, that would be really good. Okay, that's the big thing that we're looking for. Now, what needs to happen in the start to the downswing is a few things. We need to shift weight towards the lead side, and we need to progressively turn the body. But what happens with our over the top golfer, okay, is they might have a decent backswing position, but they start the downswing like this. Okay, so can you see the way that my head is in line with my lower part of my body, like so? And this is going to send that shoulder out, and like I said earlier, this makes the hands go too far out equally, and then you're going to struggle. So we don't want to do that. So the big thing that you want to understand is we want to shift our weight towards the lead side. We want to rotate, which I'll come to. But again, the key thing in all of this is you want your head to stay still. So that's why what I would suggest, and this was very much like the thumbnail picture, is when you go down to the range, but particularly here at the driving range where I am, they have the range ball with the little line on. And if you sort of tilt that golf ball down, so in your address position, you can just see the kind of horizontal line like so. And then as you start that downswing, if you're the kind of golfer who moves like this, your vision of that line is going to progressively get worse. If you're the kind of golfer who can keep that head still and still shift towards that lead side, your vision of that golf ball will stay the same, or even not maybe slightly improve. And there's a massive difference between these two. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the club across my shoulders and just go back through those motions again, because it's obvious that if I keep my head still and I turn, see the way that my shoulders become nice and tilted. If I move, see the way they get too flat. So it's the same in the downswing. If I let my head move, see my shoulders get too flat, I lose hip depth again, like this, okay? If I now concentrate on keeping my head still as I shift my weight towards that lead side, you see from this perspective, the way I maintain hip depth. So not this, this. And that's why that feeling of keeping your head still whilst simultaneously shifting your weight towards that lead side is absolutely key. Now, I did say one thing, that I would come back onto the rotation, because what happens with a lot of golfers as well, because we've also got to kind of go, well, if the head moves, okay, I get that, keep my head still, fine. But equally, we still need to rotate, like I said. So I've sort of mentioned in this video, we need to shift the weight towards the lead side, and we also need to still trigger rotation. But what I would say, and I'm going to use my my golf club again as an example of this, I'll put it halfway through me so you can really see. So if I am going to be moving in the incorrect manner, which means I move like this, okay, and my head moves like this, see the way the pelvis points very much sort of down in this sort of direction. If I move in such a way where my head stays stiller as I rotate, see the way that it's more horizontal. So let me show you that from side on. So we're not looking for this, we're looking for this, okay? So what I would say is, for the type of golfer who is an over-the-top swinger, and for the type of golfer that would get classed as being quite spinny, what you need to understand is that you need to start the downswing keeping your head still. You need to start the downswing shifting your weight progressively to the lead side. You need to start your downswing with an element of rotation, but you need to do it in such a way where you feel like your body would be more horizontal. So if I was focusing on my belt line here, okay, in the belt line like so, I swing back, and then as I swing through, it's more of a horizontal type rotation. It's not such a massive downward type of rotation as maybe we think. And that, I think, is what tends to cause a lot of the problems. Now, I know in golf, and I know with golf instructions, and myself included, and other golf instructors, when they're trying to get a message across about rotation, they'll have a golfer in mind, and I know that sometimes the demonstrations are exaggerated. But I wanted to create this video because I wanted to just add a little bit of light in terms of what we're really looking for. And if you are caught in that trap of getting stuck behind the ball like so, you need to really prioritize keeping that head still in the backswing, and then keep your head still in the downswing as you allow that weight to move towards that lead side like so. And if you're the kind of golfer who swings over the top, double check your backswing. But what you don't want to do is start moving like this. You want to just allow that body to rotate again, keeping that head still. And if you can do that, what you should start to notice is the way that you are able to continue to get a strong visual on the back of the golf ball, as I mentioned. But what you should also be able to notice is the way that it should feel maybe more like a horizontal rotation, as opposed to this thing that maybe is a bit exasperated by being so downward. But as ever, videos that I create are massively prompted by students that I meet, both online and people that come through that door. And I'm always keeping an eye on the comments on what you guys are asking questions about, and trying to put videos together to help best answer those problems. So let me know your thoughts, and I'll catch up with you guys again really soon.